This season felt like two entirely different campaigns for Manchester United. So let's break it down, the good, the bad, and the outright ugly. We started the season off with so much hope. Obviously, with Ruben Amorim in charge, he promised the good times were coming. But what happened was something entirely different. Now, don't get me wrong, the transfer window was, for me, successful. We got some really good young players, some Premier League proven players. But then also, we missed out. We missed out on one of the biggest signings we could ever make to suit the style of football that Ruben Amorim, the manager that started the season, needed. And that was the midfield position. Once we failed to get that player, right from the off, I felt that something was completely wrong. Something wasn't going to click and problems were going to lie ahead. And very quickly, like I do every season, I thought that you can tell the way the whole season will go within the first few games. What do I mean by that? The style of football, the losses, the confidence in the team, the way we were playing just drags out along as the season goes ahead. It keeps happening season in, season out. We always start off poorly. Why? Probably because of poor transfer windows, manager styles of football. And in our case, in this season in particular, the reason why it's like a Jekyll and Hyde season is because Ruben Amorim started the season off with the 3-4-3 formation, the famous 3-4-3, the one the Pope couldn't change. Why? Because he failed to change. And from the offset, when he didn't get the play he needed, now Cunha and Bruno and Sesko, brilliant. And obviously you've got Dorgu, who came in obviously the season before, but fitted into a system that you thought for Amorim would be perfect. And then the players that we already had, obviously with Ahmad, playing kind of out of position, kind of fooled us all, playing at right wing back. But again, it all came down to that midfield, dropping Kobe Mainu, making us all believe that he wasn't good enough, putting Bruno Fernandes back as a number 6 and number 8, completely wrong, leaving Casemiro to do all the work by himself. It was doomed from the beginning. Just from the offset, Man United season started terribly, and it was reflected in the results. There was straight away we lose to Arsenal, and don't get me wrong, I felt like we were robbed that game. The referee made a really poor decision. VAR didn't even intervene to cancel their goal. We should have at least got a draw at that game. But then we went on to play teams like Fulham and got a draw, and then Brentford beat us and beat us comfortably. And then we started to get some results, Southampton, and then it went into a period, I think around about October, November, when yes, it did pick up, and we got 3 games in a row. And finally, under Ruben Amorim, we won back-to-back games. I think it was Brentford, it was Sunderland, Brentford, and then beating Liverpool. And then straight away, I mean, beating Liverpool was fantastic. It was a great result. It was at Anfield, a ground that we haven't won in ages, I think 10 years. And then straight away, 2 draws. You know, we go, what was it, 1-0 up in the Nottingham Forest game, and then we end up going 2-1 down very quickly, and then Ahmad gets an equaliser. And then again, in the Spurs game, we played really well in the first half, go 1-0 up, and then we collapse. Very late on, we concede 2 goals, and if it wasn't for De Ligt's header right at the end, it was a 2-2 result. And then we moved straight into December, which I think we won 1 game. Was it the Wolves game? And then it was the Everton defeat, it was the draws, the loss against Villa, the 4-4 against Bournemouth. I mean, I was on holiday at that time in Thailand and Malaysia, so it was very difficult for me to watch the games. But it was, you could just see this happening. And like I said, I always think that at the beginning of the season, I could always tell how the season's going to pan out just by watching the first few games, and it happened again. We were really poor in the first few games, and it just continued on into the rest of the season. And largely because Ruben Amorim failed to change his system, so he's got himself to blame ultimately. And I will be honest with you, I was one of the people that backed the manager. Why? Because that's what we do. We're Man United supporters. We're different from everybody else, and people might think that is a bit arrogant, but why? Because Man United are the most successful club since I've been watching them in England. The amount of trophies we won and how we won them, the way the club was run, we've set a standard. And to come below them standards, well, obviously in the last 13 years, we've dropped so far below. It's crazy, but there's a level that I reckon we have to all, as Man United fans, follow, and that is number one is backing the manager. We Ruben Amorim tried his best. Don't get me wrong; he did some really good stuff when it comes to improving team ethics, fitness, standards. He got rid of players that didn't need to be there, Rashfords and the Garnachos. So yes, ultimately, he came in with a remit. He distanced himself. Laurie well said in his recent interview that he did distance himself. No, that was only because he came in with a remit that some of these players needed some discipline. They did need a guy to come in and massage their egos, tell them what they wanted to know and wanted to hear. He came in and he thought he's got his coaches, let them get close, and he'd come in and out because he needed to instill discipline. So I backed him, but when it got untenable, when the results stopped and the results stopped pretty early, it was over for him pretty quickly. And I did think that last year, when he wasn't winning game after back to back games in the Premier League, red flags had already started for me. But I gave him every chance. However, and this, you know, just our luck. I don't know whether you call it luck, just the way the season pans out and how it did. The second part of the season, it got too much. Three draws in a row. The amount of draws we drew, I think it was 9 draws under Ruben Amorim, but it got too much, and to the point where it probably wasn't the results that got Amorim the sack. It was his attitude. I mean, telling it was in December where he said that he would be changing the formation, and he didn't do it. I mean, against teams like Wolves, Ipswich, Leeds, right at the bottom, West Ham, conceding goals. It was pathetic. Couldn't even score against them. Pathetic. And you would have thought changing the team around then, and we didn't have many changes to make. But what we did have was some young players, some players that could play in different positions, but he chose not to. And what happened ultimately was purely down to him. And then you have the second part of the season. I mean, Amorim's era was a disaster, but then you have the savior, the Michael Carrick turnaround. Now, what can I say that hasn't already been said? It wasn't rocket science for me. Again, some people say his tactics, he simplified everything. Well, I reckon that's a little bit disrespectful. What he did was play a formation that suited these players. They play a 4-3-3 or a variation of that, as long as it's four at the back, three in midfield, and three up top. It's pretty obvious that this team was set up to do, or these type of players were good enough and set up to do that. Why persist with a 3-4-3 when you didn't get the player you wanted in midfield is beyond me. Eric Ten Hag was very clever in his first season. Within 2 games he lost, he signed Casemiro and went and played counter-attacking football, and he dropped his style of football. In the second season, he started to play it, and he got absolutely, he got ruined. And that was, again, writings were on the wall. United should have sacked him after the FA Cup, but us fans, the way we are, got him the job for an extra couple of months. And then, he stayed on and then got sacked eventually. And exactly what happened here, in some ways, similar things. So Carrick comes in and he plays a style of football where we're hard to beat. And he has a backroom staff of a very experienced Steve Holland who helps him set that up. He talks to the players. He asks them what they want, where they feel like they should be playing. He didn't tell them that whatever you want, I'll give to you, or he's not their best mates. But what he does is infuse some of the attitude that he has, his demeanor, the way he is calm, collective. When he walks into the dressing room, he's got medals, he's got Premier League titles, he's got a Champions League. He knows what it means to win, especially at Manchester United. So the players you can't knock that. You can't stand there. There's not one player on that team, obviously players like Casemiro, but 90% of that team, 95% of that team can't match what he's done in his career. So he's come in, and for me, he's been extremely clever, very intelligent, got the players to play a style of football, counter-attacking, pressing high. Yes, it's not been pretty, and yes, results have ultimately mattered the most, but that's the 2 seasons we've had half and half, 50-50, yin and yang. It's been absolutely mental to think of it like that. Because right now, I think most fans have forgot about what happened pre-December or pre-January. I have. I, the way we've ended up the season, it's shocking to see that the way we are right now and what was at the beginning of the season. Now, I've always said if Amorim kept us in the race into the top four race or the top five race, 3 to 5 points, we would always have a chance to get Champions League football. And yeah, we're probably closer to the relegation zone, about 4 or 5 points at the time off, but so were so many other teams. It was that time where there was about 10 teams or 6 to 10 teams that were a point. If you lose one game, you go all the way down to 13th, 14th. But United persisted, and we are where we are because of what happened after that, after January, after we got Carrick. What are the biggest areas of improvement? Well, that's clearly, obviously, we've finally got players, attacking players that have played in the Premier League, goal scorers, and they've scored around about 35 goals collectively. Cunha and Buemo Sesko. That has improved hugely. We've got over 60 goals. I think we're the third highest in the league this year. Now, don't get me wrong. If you have a front three to be winning things, they must be scoring 60 goals plus. So these guys need to double their output. Now, Cunha and Buemo had a 20-goal season last year. However, that was a one-off for them. They usually get about 20 to 25 goal involvements every year. And they've got about 15 this season. However, they're really going to have to step up. And Sesko coming into the league, it's his first season. He gets to learn how defenders will defend against him in the Premier League this year. He's got a bit more experience. So he will only improve. But like I've said, to be successful in this league, they need to get up to that 60-goal mark. However, it's been a huge improvement to what we've had. Why? Because in moments we've relied on one of two of them individuals to get us over the line, to get us that important goal. City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea. The 1-0 against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, Cunha steps up. Ahmad plays like that, Cunha and Buemo off form. So, big improvement. The way we've played, the transitions, the pressing up front, that's improved a lot. We still do concede a lot of chances, but we seem to keep compact. We get back into shape. We reset. We don't collapse, and that's what's really important. If we do concede an equaliser or we do concede the first goal, then we don't panic. United just grind it out and get back to normal. And again, we go again and we fight. And then again, in the last, 10, 15 games, we come out on top. And then obviously that leads into how some of these players have improved us. There's 3 players I want to talk about mainly. Let me get Kobbie Mainoo out of the way. I couldn't believe I was contemplating seeing Kobbie leave the club. Obviously, if a manager doesn't play the system that requires him, what can you do? Amorim came in and said this, that he plays a certain style of football, and if Kobbie didn't fit that, then Kobbie didn't fit that. If Amorim was still here, sadly, I don't think many people would be arguing that if Kobbie moved on, it would be a wrong decision. But the fact of the matter is that he's a homegrown player. He's a generation and talent. You have to build teams around him. And that's what Carrick will do. And that's why when he came back, he's been selected for the England squad. He's going to the World Cup. And he's been nominated for one of the young players of the season and showed his talent. World-class talent there. A generational talent. A midfielder that we've produced time and time again. And finally, we've got that academy player who can be a leader and a role model to all others that will come after him. But Kobbie Mainoo is a pivotal part of this team now and for the future. And then, obviously, the legend, Casemiro. I've done videos on him. He's had an indifferent time at Man United, but what he's done for us, the professionalism he's shown, the fact that he came here and it wasn't just a payday for him, the fact that the seasons that he's put in for us have been world class, especially the first season and the last season. Let's forget about the middle part. But ultimately, the way he is, the way he controls that midfield, the way he gets his tackle, the dark arts, for example, the way he is getting that foul against him, going down, giving the team a little bit of time just to recover, getting his foot in, tackling them, fouls that he does, the intelligent fouls that to break up play, there's no better. In the last, 10, 15 years, Casemiro has been the best in world football at it. That's why he got that ovation. That's why he was emotional. His family was on the pitch. There's not much more I can say other than it's going to be really difficult trying to replace this guy. Can you replace him with one player? There's maybe one or two people in world football that can do that right now. Or will you, Man United replace them with two? But the gap he's left, I mean, it's huge. It's huge. And the fact that, you know, the game against Nottingham Forest was his last game, it was quite befitting. Why? Because he left on a high. Even though we went on to win against Brighton and comfortably, it was perfect for him. But yeah, Casemiro, unbelievable. And last but not least, Bruno Fernandes. Down the line, I mean, he's had his hardcore support and his hardcore supporters that completely hate him. You know, he's he's got his hate. I don't know what is going on with Gary Neville and even more Roy Keane. How personal it's got. Why are they going that far with him? Why has Roy Keane gone to the point where he's now childish? Every time one of our legends like Nicky Butt or Paul Scholes seem to interact with one of our players, either it's Lissandro Martinez or now it's Bruno Fernandes, when they get clapped back or when they get it back and they've been proven wrong, they turn childish. In the podcasts that they do afterwards, they become childish. So the way I see it is that someone needs to have a sit down with Roy Keane and say, stop this. Just because maybe it's jealousy because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer didn't get the job. And if that's the case, that's pathetic. You know why? Because Michael Carrick is one of their friends too. Gary Neville's friend. How can they be that sour that one of their teammates has got the job just because one of the others didn't? Roy Keane is everyone's favourite captain at Manchester United. He's a legend. But what he's becoming is the epitome of this new craze of Man United legends just constantly criticizing. Now, what they've got to understand is Man United are not Man United of old anymore. The standards are not there anymore. It's a different Manchester United. And to get back there, it's going to take a long time. And it's going to take a lot of transfer windows. It's taken what? How many managers? How many different players? So get over them. These guys need to get over themselves and start. No one's asking for blind support, but encouragement, respect. What he's done and the lies that he misinterpreted his quotes for Bruno Fernandes are ridiculous. But that aside, Bruno Fernandes, 21 assists this year. European record. Just for a second in the Brighton game, there were some murmurs about it might have been an own goal. Dorgu's goal might have hit the bar, come off the keeper and went back in. But no, the Premier League weren't going to intervene there. And it would have been stupid if they did it. It's just pathetic. I mean, why? Goalkeepers don't like to have own goals put on their name. So why would you even get involved? So I was happy that that stood. But even in that game, he should have broke the assist record comfortably in that game. But it was a game before that in Nottingham Forest where it was just the pass to Dorgu from right to left. I was watching that in China, obviously. It was unbelievable. The pub was going mental. He should have had at least 4 assists. He should have broken Paul Pogba's assist record. But ultimately, he got it. And he just rubber stamps that he is the best midfielder in Man United's current era. He can fit, for me, in any Manchester United team. He reminds me of Brian Robson, basically. Brian Robson didn't play in a hugely successful Man United team. They were just cup wins. And that's what this guy has done, basically. But you put Bruno Fernandes in a Liverpool team, Chelsea team, Man City team, Arsenal team, number 1 player. Is he better than De Bruyne? Yes. Most of his stats are better than his. Why? Yeah, no one's saying De Bruyne ain't a world-class player. But you swap them over, Bruno Fernandes outshines De Bruyne in the Man City team. No problem. So the way I see it, you're looking at a legend of the game here. Bruno Fernandes. The Premier League are lucky to have him. The amount of goals and assists he's done since he's been here is unbelievable. So the way I see it, long may it continue. Again, Him and Kobe Menu are in the midfield. We get him a partner, a Chouameni and Anderson. Well, you know what? We've got good times to come. Why? Because we've got a proven goal creator there, and one that will look at his injury record. Unbelievable. Unbelievable injury record. So you're looking at a player that's going to be playing up to into his nearly early 40s, I reckon. Why not? Ryan Giggs plays like that. Cristiano Ronaldo, they all played until that age. Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Bruno Fernandes is in that mold. He's super fit, really gets injured, and he's got that very coach like brain on him. He's learning. Don't be surprised if Bruno Fernandes ends up as the coach at Man United and eventually the manager. Just mark my words, because that's the type of person he is. But them three players, as a over the season, unbelievable, well done, and they have been hugely part of why we've been successful. But with the success, I'm going to talk about some of the bad things as well. Now, injuries. Delict, what happened to him? For me, up until he got injured, best defender in the league. Leacher obviously came back and then went away again. These two players, Man United need to seriously start thinking about: do we move on? Do we trust them? Can they stay fit for a whole season, play 60 games plus? That was a big sticking point for me. How the team were under Amorim. Now, I've already spoken about that, and that as a whole was a disappointing part of the Man United's campaign. But to add to it was some of these individual players. Ahmad, disappointing season. And Mbuemo came in great, fantastic. He ended it with a few goals. But that period of time from January up until April, Mbuemo went off the ball. But Ahmad as an entirety, yes, he gets the ball. He's attacking. He gets to the byline, tries to take on his man. But ultimately, it's not Ahmad as we know him. The guy that drives forward, gets shots off, passes, creates. In the last couple of games, we've seen a lot better movement from him. But when it comes to some of the disappointing aspects of the season, some of the injuries, some of the form of the players, I've got to add to that first part of the season. But ultimately, I guess it is what it is with them. It was always going to happen. An indifferent season to get to where we are right now. Yes, obviously it's fantastic. But when you break down into the detail, it has been difficult. Now, some of the best games. Now, let's forget about the poor games. I mean, we only lost about 7 games this season. That's a couple less than I think Man City and Arsenal. So we've lost them games, and some of them were really poor losses. Leeds United at Old Trafford, obviously Everton at Old Trafford, stupid losses. Went down to 10 men against Newcastle. But ultimately, some of the best games we've had this season in a long time were against the top six. When it comes to the top six record, Man United are the best. Home and away Chelsea, home and away Liverpool, Tottenham beat them, drew out obviously their ground. I mean, are there a top six side anymore? I don't know. Villa have replaced them. One loss, one win against Villa, and it was a tough loss against Villa. Why? Because we played much better than them. Obviously, City, we're beating them on Carrick's first game. Amazing. And we didn't just beat City, we battered City. City were in some crap title race. They got back into it and they let Arsenal have it. Why? Because City are crap this season. It's over. Beating Arsenal, the injustice of losing that first game of the season against them was disgusting. But we absolutely showed them up at their ground, showed them who we are. Some of them players stepped up. Cunha, Dogu, unbelievable. So, some of the games we've had this year have been unbelievable, legendary. Beating Liverpool home and away, first time in 10 years. That's something to take as a huge positive. Why? Because it goes to show Man United are still that top club where teams come and you can't underestimate us. Why? Because certain teams, when they fall off completely, even against their rivals and the teams that are around them. Man United, even in our bad times, will be able to bring out results. And look at us now. So that was a huge positive of the season for me. And then I guess I'll talk a bit about Ineos, how they've been. Well, it was their first guy, their first manager, Amorim. Yeah, they got it wrong. Why? Because maybe the actual signing of him as a manager Fair enough. They knew all about him. They did this research. He told them how he was going to play, but he was their guy and they should have got the players for him. So ultimately, they kind of went hand in hand, his failure. But they made the decision and they finally got it right. This could be the decision that they've made of sacking him and getting Carrick in, the best they've ever, they've made so far. So that coupled with a really good transfer window, they've got some respect there. Everything that's gone off the pitch, I don't really want to talk about. Why? Because today I just want to focus on the football. And I guess their recruitment, well done to them. It's now how they back that up for Carrick. A season like we've had can never ever happen again. We can never go 2 games, 3 games without a game anymore. It's absolutely ridiculous. We cannot get kicked out of cups in the first round against teams like Grimsby or Brighton's. Can't happen. Man United are a team that goes far in all competitions or gets beaten by the best. Now, don't get me wrong, it's happened before. Yes, we can get knocked out here and there, but ultimately, a campaign for Man United consists of 55 games plus. So, looking at the whole season entirely, there's one big question that comes to mind right now. What if? What if Carrick was here at the beginning of the season? Looking at the way the Premier League has been won this year, looking how Michael Carrick is the best performing manager in the Premier League since he signed. What if? And that is something the board have to really sit down and contemplate, because Man United had 40 games this season. Man United should have won the league. Man United should have been ready. Man United should have maybe not walked it, but at least won this league by similar margins to the way Arsenal have won it against City. We should have taken it to the end. In fact, we can all point out the games, the draws that have cost us the league. Arsenal haven't blown anyone away. Man City are either. There's been 50 plus point switch between Man United and Liverpool. That's absolutely ridiculous. We finished the season 11 points ahead of Liverpool, a £500 million front line. Ultimately, Man United should have done a lot better. And that's why I say, what if? So, as a season as a whole, to get back in the Champions League, to get third, to get Carrick, to get these players playing in the right positions, we've got a lot to look forward to. Man United are in a great place right now. They've got a really good, strong backroom staff, a team. Steve Holland leading it. A guy that's really experienced, a guy that is a Man United supporter. And that's what you want. So that's the season, you know. It's weird, like I said, because I think we've all forgot what happened in the first part. And, under Carrick, yeah, the football hasn't been great, but there's been moments where we've been brilliant, and that individual success or the individual moments have really got us over the line. And the team, Michael Carrick, the players deserve full respect for that. I mean, Old Trafford, we were winning games again. We had a really poor record going, before Carrick at Old Trafford. It was pathetic. But we're back, and we're back in style. Man United are going to recruit well. Why? Because the writings are on the wall there. Ineos are doing that really, really well. Jason Wilcox is looking around for some really, really good talent. That coupled with what we've already got, we've only got good times ahead of us. The storm is well and truly over, as Amorim once said. And now the good times will come.